welcome to Lisa's Changing Perceptions with Lisa Efflandt, brought to you today by the wonderful support of the Bremer Team, Keller Williams Success Realty, bremerteam.com, 847-456-6334. They bring families home. Lisa, good morning. How you doing?
I am well. I don't know what I would do if we ever became professional at the beginning of the show.
I'm telling you, right? If we actually knew what our jobs were. I was waiting on the software was doing absolutely nothing. I was waiting to go live, and it was just...
And I'm thinking we're going live, and all of a sudden I'm hearing Pete gasp and point at the keyboard and look at the computer funny. And
I'm waiting, and then finally it says, "Hey, you're live," and then we talked. And
yeah, we need to put another camera up that's just a show called Live at 216, where it records what happens before the shows, because people would understand that
we're just sitting
I'm
around.
not actually insane, that I'm laughing for no reason as they come on, because it's always you.
Because I'm over here making faces and
yeah.
So
I don't know what we're going to talk about this morning. We're just going to talk this morning because frankly, I'm a bit burned out. And I've decided that I needed to take a break from some of the intense. So it's not going to be a long break, but I need a mental break from some of the intense shows. I'm going to do some more fun ones. So what I've decided is, with October coming, I'm going to do Woo Month. So the 4 Sundays in October are going to be metaphysical in some way, shape, or form. I've got a couple people I'm trying to get to come on with me who do metaphysical things that are different than the metaphysical things that I do. I'm not one that believes there's only one way for anything. So I like to kind of expose people to multiple things. And I've got some pictures I may actually send Pete to be able to post on the show. So if for the next month, when you're tuning in, if the woo interests you, if it doesn't interest you, I hope you come back in November, because I'm going to go back to the other stuff.
If the woo interests you. Good morning, Mary Sutherland. How you doing today?
There's Mary. She's one of the people I want to come on with me so that we can talk about all the cool and amazing things she researches. And she has several books on topics that many of you may be completely unfamiliar with, but that are fascinating. So good morning, Mary. I'd love you to come on with me in October. So get a hold of me. I should probably still do my speaking of. See how unprofessional I am today, and I haven't had enough coffee. I'm just a mess.
She says she's up for it here. She says, I am up for it.
Beautiful. Call me after the show and we'll pick a Sunday, or message me and we'll pick a Sunday. The 10th and the 17th are already taken. So you can do next Sunday, or you can do actually on Halloween.
Ooh.
Yeah, so Mary does a lot of really cool things. And those are the pictures. So actually I'll save the pictures that I was going to send in, because Mary does a tour at a place that's a haunted woods, and I've got some amazing pictures that I took with my own camera, and I was there, and I know that they're genuine. So those are things I'm going to send into the show, and maybe Pete will be able to show them on the screen while we're talking. So if you're listening for Woo Month, maybe tune into YouTube. Pete, if you want to tell them how to do that.
YouTube, you can find 216 The Net at YouTube by simply going to YouTube, and you can either search 216 The Net, or you can go to youtube.com/C/216 The Net, all run together, and go right directly to our YouTube channel and click subscribe, even like and share if you're so inclined. We're actually up to a whopping, this always cracks me up, and it shouldn't, and I'm thankful for this, 182 YouTube subscribers right now, and when we started from zero. So all of the, nearly 500,000 of you that listen to the show here every Sunday morning. Yes, we do reach over 500,000 people for the radio portion. If you'd like to actually watch and see Lisa's smiling face, get on over to the YouTube channel. So
and I know some of our shows are hitting 600,000 and 700,000.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw that out there, because I'm going to be honest. It's part of my burnout. I love doing the show, and I love talking to people, and I am so grateful for those 500,000 to 700,000 people that log in every week. But I feel like sometimes people don't understand the effort and work that's really put onto it. It's fun. It is. I don't lie. For those of you who think we're making a fortune doing radio, no. We are not. As a matter of fact, I'm here because I care about what I do. Pete's here because he cares about the station. This is not what it is. And so I guess I'm going to ask, we show up every week. And there's many other shows that show up every week. And if you could go on and subscribe to things like that, that is really beneficial to the station. And the station offers out a lot at no cost to you. And I guess I would be grateful if you would go and click and subscribe. And I'm going to also throw in a tip because people do ask me how they can go back and watch my shows if they weren't able to tune in on Sunday morning or whatever. But if you go to 216 The Net, if you go to YouTube and go to 216 The Net and then put space and then just type in Lisa, all my shows will show up on the scroll.
Yep.
And you can choose from them. I do, if you want to watch it live or not watch it live, but I'm going to try whenever Mary comes on, and I'll, like I said, it'll either be next week or Halloween, but I'm going to try and have some pictures and what have you to show of the haunted woods. And I'm sure Mary will have a few. And also I'm going to ask Mary to have all her books available to let you know of the really cool topics that she has researched and read about. And she's into the UFOs and the red-haired giants and all kinds of interesting things. So I'm going to make October a fun month, just to kind of heal my burnout a bit. Guess we're just going to be blunt and say that. But if you could go onto YouTube and subscribe, because truthfully, if even a third of you did that, it would be amazing for the station.
It would be phenomenal. It would really be phenomenal. And even then put us in a position to generate some YouTube advertising and such. So,
right, because I don't know if people realize this. And like I said, this is just going to be a whatever day because I'm a little burned out. Pete and Ken started this radio station out of their own pockets. So this is not what people might be thinking it is. And I'm asking for some support from all the listeners. It doesn't cost anything. Just click the little subscribe button and get those numbers up for us. And I'd be very, very, very grateful.
Denise Maple says, good morning.
Good morning, Denise. I'd be really grateful. So we'll go with that for right now.
Yeah. Why not?
My voice is worse because our weather's changing. Well, of course. And I don't mean to sound whiny like I don't love doing this. I absolutely do. It's just one of those times and one of those things when you stop and go, okay, you know what do I need to do here? And I knew that emotionally, I just need to take a little break from the intense. And it happened to be Halloween. So Halloween month. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let's do the woo month because people do ask about the woo part of me and I don't tend to get into it all that often. So
why don't you explain what the woo is? Because a lot of people are thinking, what is woo?
The woo, I call the woo my metaphysical. I am an intuitive medium. And I do oracle cards and I use pendulums and I do the spiritual connection thing. And I call that the woo. It's just become our, my friends that do it too, it's just kind of become our term over the years, but that is the woo. So we're going to do a month of metaphysical interests of different sorts and levels. Some I will be able to have conversation with if I can get a couple guests that I went on. And some I have no clue about what they research, but I find it fascinating. So I'd like to spotlight them as well. Like Mary. Mary's topics I have minimal knowledge in, but great interest in. And I listen to her talk about it because it's fascinating. So since I am not as aware of her topics as she is, obviously, that's why I wanted Mary to come on the show and expose people to things that maybe they haven't heard of before. It may trigger some interest for some people. And truthfully, to spotlight Mary, because there's a lot of people out there in the world who are doing a whole lot of work on their passion. And I want to kind of do a pay it forward, I guess. And I'd like to have some people that mean a lot to me on the show to talk to me about these things and to offer them exposure to the 500,000 to 700,000 people that listen every week. And it's a pay it forward to people who are important to me and who have been in my life. Good, bad, ugly, beautiful, all aspects.
all the way around. All the way around.
And
that's cool.
Offer them a spotlight in, like I said, the 500,000 to 700,000 people that listen. So there's going to be some interesting topics coming up. And they're going to be some of them outside my realm, some of them within my realm, but regardless. But I am going to throw out one thing out there to make it a little more fun since the final Sunday in October is Halloween. I am going to, on that show, at the end of the show, have a couple questions. So you will need to be live on YouTube or Facebook. I will have a couple questions from the shows over the month, the woo shows over the month. And whoever can answer them, I will do a drawing, and you'll get a free 30-minute mediumship reading.
So like a psychic question kind of thing?
No,
Like
it's going to be questions about topics that were talked about.
oh, okay.
So in
So
other
like
words,
in
you
the
have
months
to
past.
tune in the
Okay.
whole
You
month.
have to tune in the whole month
Right.
in order to be able to answer the questions on Halloween to win
Correct.
a what? What are they going
30
to win?
minute 30-minute. I can't even talk. I have not had enough coffee.
And I
30
am so
minute
sorry. I
mediumship.
forgot to
No, I should have
buy
made it. It's
coffee. I
just I
made
was in a hurry
coffee at
this morning.
home. I didn't even. I should have told. I should have
It's
told
okay.
you.
No, I had coffee this morning, just not enough.
I'm sorry, and I completely interrupted you. What do they win?
They
What
win
do they?
a free 30-minute mediumship reading.
Cool.
So, and it'll be by me. I'll be the one who's doing it. I don't want to volunteer anybody else. And if any of my guests choose to offer something on their show, that's going to be up to them. I'm not obligating them to. So if you want to tune in and see if whoever I'm having on offers something up, then they may. It's all going to be a surprise. It's all going to be on a whim. And my idea for the month is to lighten it up a little bit, broaden the horizons a little bit, and to spotlight some very interesting, intelligent, talented, outside the box people that have been in my life for a very long time.
Very nice. Very cool.
So we're going to do that.
Now, suppose someone doesn't want to wait to try to win a 30-minute reading. What do you normally what's your normal rate for that?
30 minutes, it's $50 for 30 minutes and $90 for an hour.
Okay, so 50 for 30, 90 for 60. Okay, 90 for an hour. All right, there you go. So you get
and now, if there's multiple people, it depends on how many people there are.
Cool. Denise says woo-hoo for the woo-woo. And Mary Sutherland says, I will put up a few books on haunted Burlington.
And just for those of you who don't know, she's talking about Burlington, Wisconsin. So
yeah, which is quite the haunted city.
And it's real close to here. So if you're in this area, especially, those would be some great books to read, and then go up there and kind of check out Burlington a little bit.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. Thank you, Mary. Do that on the show that you're going to be on, so that that's your show to spotlight you, Mary, and all the things that you do. So as far as readings go, I have done readings where there's 3 or 4 people there. There is an additional charge for additional people.
She says that she'll put those up on her show that she does with you for giveaway. Oh, so that's awesome.
Yeah, Mary's a good heart.
Wow, very cool.
Mary's a very good heart.
So be sure we tune in for Mary's, because she said she would do the Halloween with you.
Beautiful.
So she said, yeah, Halloween would be fun. So
Mary Sutherland, who used to own the Sci-Fi Cafe in Burlington a long time ago, my family loved going there, will be on October 31st. Now I have 3 Sundays filled now. I'll just go through them. On October 10th, my beautiful, fabulous friend Julie Adrianson from Come As You Are Art is going to be on. And people might say, well, what does Come As You Are Art have to do with woo-woo? Julie has been my friend for a long time. Oh, gosh, I don't even know how many years now. But she was introduced to me. She went to school with my husband. She went to high school with my husband. And she was introduced to me when I needed somebody to paint angels for I actually have a sentiment card line. One day I'm going to have to do a show on the products that I actually have and have created myself, because I never do that.
Yeah.
And I needed somebody to paint angels for them. So he said, I have this friend from high school. And we met and hit it off immediately. And we have grown to be very, very good friends. As a matter of fact, the resort I work for in Colorado, she works there too, and she's their concierge, and that's how I got the job. That's how I got introduced to the job.
Okay.
But since we've become friends over the years, she used to own Julie's Coffee in Lake Villa. For anybody who might be familiar with that, before she moved to Colorado, she owned Julie's Coffee in Lake Villa. But we would sit for hours and talk. And now she has been exposed enough to the woo-woo that the woo-woo happens to her, and she is familiar with it. So I said that'd be fun, because you were really open to it, but unaware of it when we met, and just the conversations and just the opening of that opened all that for you. And I think it would be fun. She has a dynamic personality, and that would be fun for people to see. Yeah, truly anybody can do it. It's a matter of kind of opening up and being aware of it. And she does it a little bit different than I do, which is fabulous. Everybody has a different technique. So she's going to be on the 10th. And she's a fabulous artist. And because she doesn't do readings and things like that, that's not her thing. But because I'm going to be blessed with her presence, and I've been blessed with her in my life, she will be showing her artwork, because she does watercolor portraits. animal portraits and things, and I have told her to have those placed around her because she'll be remote. Obviously, she's not driving in from Colorado for me.
Yeah.
And I've asked her to place those around her. So you guys will be seeing her artwork. We're going to spotlight Julie, and we are going to talk about the woo, but I'm just letting you know we're going to put her artwork around that is available, and she does specialty orders for your pet portraits and what have you. And with the holidays coming, I'm like, Jules, post your artwork. Let's
Cool.
spotlight you. And then on the 17th, which is the following Sunday, we're going to be having Shelby Davis, who's fabulous. And she is not only an intuitive medium, but she is a tarot card reader, and she does spell casting and things that I am unfamiliar with and aren't my realm. But she, again, has a dynamic personality, and she is an individual that is unique to herself. And she also works out of a metaphysical store in New York that a very, very good friend of mine owns. And my very good friend that owns it has some health issues, and I have let her know that if she is feeling up to it that day, that she may also join us remotely. And she has a fabulous metaphysical store that has the coolest things. And one of the cool things she has is she gifted me 3 years ago, I think, for my birthday, a set of archangel statues. They're multiple archangel statues that she sent to me.
Cool.
So that's the 17th. And then, oh, wait, there's another one in between there then, isn't it? Because it doesn't go the 17th to the 31st. So I don't have the next one filled. And then the fabulous Mary Sutherland will be here with us on the 31st.
So cool. All right.
We'll
so
fill in-
October. So we have October 3rd on the Sundays. So the 3rd, 10th.
That one was not filled yet. That
Okay.
You might just get me because I'm doing it last minute.
3rd, 10th. 3rd is Lisa. 10th is Lisa and
Julie.
17th is Lisa and
Shelby.
24th.
We don't have yet.
We don't have, and then the 31st is Lisa and Miss Sutherland.
Either the 3rd or the 24th, Kelly will probably be coming back. She does tarot. Okay. She's been on here before. She does tarot, and she also does paranormal research.
Wow, cool.
So she's been on the show before. She's fun. I can't believe how many people, and that's when I decided kind of to do this. I can't believe how many people are wonderful in my life and how they've come into my life. I met Shelby because my friend who owns the metaphysical store was interviewing readers to go into the shop. And whenever she has a new reader that she's interviewed to come into the shop, she has them read me because she knows I'll be honest with her, but she also knows that I'll understand that they're nervous, that it's kind of an interview and I'm their friend. You know, I take all those things into account.
Yeah.
And she trusts that I will tell her whether I feel they're genuine or not. As a matter of fact, I'm doing it tomorrow morning for the same purpose. But anyway, Shelby did that, and Shelby and I just hit it off, and we've been friends now for a few years because of that. Mary, I walked in the Sci-Fi Cafe. I had seen it for a million years and I wanted to know what it was. And one day I had time and I stopped in and I sat down, and Mary and I just hit it off and have been friends for years. She knew my late husband well. I mean, we went in there. So, I've met the most fabulous people. Julie, I told you how I've met her. And Kelly, the one that does paranormal research and tarot, my friend who was Anita, who's been on the air before, she was the maid of honor in my wedding in 1988. Wow. I was at her house one day and Kelly showed up and we ended up chit-chatting, and she ended up having her cards with, and she did this card reading for me off the cuff kind of, and it was so dead on, and she did not know me or anything about me. She knew that I was a medium because Anita had told her that, but other than that, she didn't know anything about me. And we've been friends ever since. I always laugh because whenever I meet people who are into the metaphysical and I get into conversations with them, I end up being friends with them. I'm like, damn it, I kind of lose my readers. Like once they know me that well. So we're going to do that. I do have a friend who is my mentor in all of this in South Carolina named Sarah. And I'm trying to get her on for one of the shows, but she frankly is too shy to come on the air. And she's the beginning of all of this for me.
That's okay.
So yeah, I'm trying.
No
fabulous.
Pressure, but you know.
Yeah, we pressure her a little bit.
She could come on and not have to. I mean, we could actually bring her in like remote, and her audio can be on. Her camera doesn't have to be.
I have told her that I'm trying. I'm trying to get her because she's fabulous. She's my mentor, and it's funny because I met her in the same strange way. I think I've talked about this a long time ago on the air. It was my grandma. When my grandma passed away, as most people who listen regularly know, was that I had made a deal with her that if everything I believed in the spiritual world was true, she was the one who, when she passed away, would come through and tell me. And about 3 months after she died was my 40th birthday. And my mom had a neighbor who knew somebody down south that did readings. So I'm like, okay, you know what? That'd be fun. And my husband even made fun of me for doing it. But that was my 40th birthday present to myself. And I hadn't even paid her yet. Like I called her and she said, "Can I ask why you're doing a reading?" And I said, "It's a 40th birthday present to myself." And so I hadn't even paid her, so she did not know my last name. She knew nothing. And this was 14 years ago now. And so anyway, she did a reading and it was phenomenal. And if she comes in the air, we'll talk about it. But if not, I'll talk about it, I guess, on my own. But she says I was the most difficult read she ever had because truthfully, I was not going to be taken by a fake. And I was difficult. We still laugh about it now. But she ended up reading, I don't know, probably a dozen people that I knew. She laughed and said I kept her busy all summer that I met her.
Wow.
And we've become friends all these years, and we still talk probably 3 to 4 days a week. We kind of do a kind of catch up, and she's phenomenal. But when I first started this, she was my mentor. I called her for everything when weird things would happen or I was trying to figure out something. And when I first started all of the woo, it's kind of funny now that I look back on it. I read every book under the sun. I have hundreds of books on it. And I literally read. And I would spend an hour or two a day in deep meditation, trying to force these deep meditations and trying to do all this. And my husband ended up having a reading from her. And because he made fun of me until he came home and I read him the reading. Because he said, "How will you know if she's true?" Because she was a friend of my mom's friend. Kind of, you assume they're going to get some background. And I said, "Well, first off, I don't think I'm that valuable to Google, and things are really going to pop up." That it was before. Now, if you do it, a lot pops up. But I'm on the air,
Yeah.
but this was before all that. And I said, my high school first love died. My son obviously had passed away. My husband was still alive at the time, hence why he was the one asking me. And my grandma and I had that pact that she made before she died. And I said, those are not things that would be on Google, even if you could Google me. People wouldn't know those things. And so I said, if she can come up with one of those things clearly with detail, then I'll know, because nobody would know that. And my mom's friend would not know that to tell her friend to, you know what I mean? Like none of that would have happened. As he died, gosh, 34 years ago. And she had all three of them. And she came in detail. I still have the reading written down.
Oh.
And so she had all three of them. And my husband was in such awe that he ended up having a reading, and she pulled in people from high school that there's no way anybody would have known about. So anyway, we became friends over the years, and I would call her. And this is an interesting thing about the woo that people don't realize is I remember when her and I would talk, and my husband would come in the room, and my husband and her got along. As a matter of fact, he met her for the first time 2 weeks before he died. We had never met her in person for all those years. And 2 months or about a month before he passed away, we went down there to meet her and spent time with her. And anyway, so he was there, and my big goal was I wanted to see spirit with my eyes, like I see Pete sitting over here in the chair. That was my thing I wanted to do. And I was battling it and trying to figure it out and reading every book and doing everything I could. And so we were on the phone one day, and my husband walked in the room, and I remember this because I was mad. And I said, "Sarah, I have a question for you." So I said, "Which one of us is going to see spirit?" Because my husband got into it. Like he really got into it and got really good.
Oh.
And I said, "Which one of us is going to see spirit with our eyes first?" And she said, "Don." And I said, "What the hell? I put so much work into this." I was livid. Well, that's the thing about the woo, guys. You connect and you know the truth. And the truth is my husband saw spirit with his eyes first.
Man, I don't know. Be careful what you wish for.
Right.
I don't refer to myself as like a psychic medium or anything like that. But I've seen spirits, ghosts, whatever you want to call them, ever since I was little.
Right.
And I don't get to control what I see. I see whatever it is, or whoever it is, or whoever it was, or whatever it is or was wants to show me.
I don't know that anybody really controls what they see.
It's not always very nice. So
this is a matter. Yeah. I see and hear things sometimes. I mean, I don't ask for it or whatever. My son that's with my husband up there, for whatever reason, woke me up the other night, and it kind of freaked me out for a minute because I woke up because I heard "Mom." Somebody just yell "Mom," and I woke up, and it startled me for a second to where I looked on my phone to make sure one of my girls wasn't in trouble, or you know what I mean, that they were trying to warn me. And nothing else ever came about of it. But for whatever reason, he woke me up because I heard it loud and clear. It woke me up from a sleep. I mean, we don't have control over those things. Um, I told everybody I've been working on a book for a million years on all of this stuff, and I struggle with putting it out because the people who know me best and have been a part of my life for the last 14 years as all this has really gotten strong. Because as a child, I did it too, and then I blocked it out. In hindsight, now I realize I was doing it. At the time, I didn't realize that's what was happening.
Mm.
But in hindsight, now I realize what was happening. I used to see little things, and I found out now they're called brownies, but they're little beans. And I used to be horrified in my room. But I didn't really grow up in a house where that was like open conversation. So I
Yeah.
just kind of, like most children, blocked it out. I tell people, if you want to know the truth about the medical physical world, ask a toddler. They haven't been talked out of it yet. They haven't
No.
been, convinced of it yet. They're still semi-connected.
And I mean, that's when I first started seeing it.
Right.
And then it really wasn't talked about when I was growing up, but I learned how to like block like I learned how to, I can't explain it. I don't know how it works, but I learned to basically close the door, close the window, pull the drapes. It's just the imagery that I would use.
Right.
And then it would go away. I can't do that anymore. My window or
Well,
door is stuck open.
I think
Can't do it
children are a
anymore.
little more protected in it than we are as adults, for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
But there's an exposure to it.
yeah, I can't close it anymore, so I get what I get whenever it shows up, and I hear what I hear whenever people start talking or whatever.
I'm blessed that
which
I
is
don't
not
get a lot of
always
negative
fun.
things. I have, and people ask this because people TV wants to dramatize things so that you will watch TV,
Oh yeah,
and then they can sell all those shows
oh
to
yeah,
advertisers. Not that it's not all real, or not that it's not real, I should say, but it's very dramatized. It's very cut up, and it's only going to show you the parts you want to see. So generally, I get two questions when people find out what I do. One is, are you anything like Teresa Caputo? Yes, I read in that way, meaning I see and hear spirit in that way. I'm a medium. And if I had a film crew and editors that took my 1 hour reading and condensed it down to 10 minutes, yes, I would be amazing just like
yeah,
that. Because when you see those 10 minutes, that's an hour. And
yeah,
those are clips and cuts, and they're going to take out the best parts. That's just the reality of it. And the other question is, what about negative things? What about demons? What about all those things? Do I believe those things are out there? Absolutely. Do I have an issue with them? No, but I'm very consciously aware of protecting against that. And the only time I've had an issue, and actually my friend who owns the metaphysical store, I called her upset, like not knowing what to do. Demons and things are more of her research. That's more of her gig. You tell her you think you got a demon in your house, and she's like, I'm coming over. Like that's her gig. It's not mine. And I was in a very, very depressed place. It's when I wrote my book. And I was in a very, very depressed place, and I did have something come and choke me. But I realized that it was my energy that allowed that to come in. It was me being in that spot and allowing that to come in. And I was thinking, if anybody has read my book, I had a week where I really contemplated, this is it. I'm done. And I was suicidal. Not that I didn't have a plan and I didn't do all those things, but I was really in the mindset of, I'm over it. Life's too hard. And I was in that dark and sad place. And yeah, I did. And that's the only incident in all these years. And I have done paranormal investigations where there's two paranormal places that when they would go do an investigation, if they got anything peculiar, they'd call. And people are like, well, yeah, but they tell you. No, they don't. The truth is,
mm,
how it worked was the one that I would go live. I did a couple of them over the phone for a different one because, yes, I can do a paranormal investigation over the phone because you don't have to be there. Energy is energy. You can put your energy there and walk it. But the other one would call me, and all she would say is, are you available, such and such date? And if I was, she'd say, okay, I'll meet you at such and such. We're going to this town. And that's all I would know. She would pick me up. We'd meet somewhere. I'd get in her car and she would drive me to the town she was telling me. But I knew, are we going to a company? Are we going to a house? Are we going to a cave? Where are we? I knew none of that until I walked in the door. And then I would walk in the door, and most of them were houses that I did for her. And she'd tell me nothing, and I'd walk through the house, and with each room, she'd jot down what I felt, what I saw, what I, heard, whatever it was and then she would take it and compare it to her notes. to what was going on. So I've done that, and even in that, no demon ever ate me. I'm
I've actually seen some really. I don't refer. I think demon is a label that we've used to oversimplify the bad stuff. That's my own personal opinion. Because I used to, like you, I used to get called to go with people and they wouldn't tell me anything about where
right,
we're going or anything, and you just walk around and it's just like, okay, I see something, I don't see something, I see
right.
something, I don't. This is what's happening. This is what I feel. Blah 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 blah.
It's actually about the
And
least pressure read you can do because
and
there's no
it's
expectation
there's
beside whatever it is it
yeah,
is.
and I don't. Again, I don't do readings. Like I have I've tried once or twice, and to me I don't know. It's just not what I do. It didn't feel. It felt weird when I tried to do it.
Oh, I loved it.
But when I see what I see, I hear what I hear, and people can believe it or they cannot believe it. But I used to go with them, and there were a few teams. This was quite a while back. A few teams that would call and have me go, and we would get a lot of stuff. But the last time I ever really did a serious one was a farmhouse in Kansas. This was a long, long time ago. And we just showed up at this farmhouse in Kansas. It wasn't much to look at, kind of out in the middle of a cornfield, the middle of nowhere, abandoned and not much to look at all. Walked in, didn't really feel anything. Walked upstairs, walked around the house, went downstairs, walked back up stairs, and I'm like, this is like a nothing sort of. There's nothing here. I got nothing. They said, well, did you go everywhere downstairs? I'm like, I'm pretty sure. Well, go over there, and I went over there, and it was a kitchen. Um, Walked in, and it's just a dirty, what used to be a kitchen. You could tell where a sink was or whatever. I walked back out, and they're like, anything? I'm like, no. They said, well, check it again. I walked back in, and I opened the door, and it was like a little double door thing, but it was like opening to a horror movie set. It was gory, horribly gory, gore everywhere, and I'm like, and I'm done. And I let the doors closed. I walked back out, and I stopped. And I turned and opened it again just to double check, and it was just a completely empty, dirty kitchen. But so whatever at their prompt, something decided to show me this
Right, a
scene,
flash of it.
a
Right.
flash of it. And as it turned out, some farmer, it was a hog farmer's place, and he had butchered his family once upon a time in the
Nice.
kitchen, and that's what I got to see. And I'm like, yeah, thanks for that. I'll be in the car.
Yeah.
You don't call me again. I'm not going on any more of these. I'm
Yeah,
done.
I didn't mind him. I never had anything that graphic.
It was horrible. It was absolutely.
I never had anything that graphic.
I'll
Most
never
of them,
scrub that from my brain, and that was 30 years ago.
mine tended to be where I would always end up finding that there was a ghost or something still left there, and it was a little bit of havoc, but never.
I get ghosts and spirits, but people.
Well, but people who are unfamiliar and don't understand it, they just, what's going on, what's making the cabinet rattle, what's making whatever. And those are things that we're going to talk about over the month, because what people don't realize is there's a difference between a ghost and a spirit.
Yeah.
A ghost basically is a person who's passed, but they didn't go through the light. And I say that because there is truly a tunnel of light. I have seen it. I have witnessed the crossings. It is truly a tunnel of light. And that tunnel of light clears you from the earthly burdens, meaning sadness, depression, regrets, all this, and clears you of those things. And people who don't go through that tunnel, you have a choice. It's free will. You're not forced through the tunnel. You have an option. And some people choose not to because maybe they were instilled with a fear or what have you. I have a book somewhere. I was just telling my girlfriend this, written down, of the crossings that I've done and the stories of the people behind them. But they don't go for whatever reason, and so they're earthbound. But when you stay earthbound that way, you still carry the emotional baggage you carried as a human. You just don't have a body and nobody can hear you. So It's very frustrating. Well, most people can't hear you.
Most people, and God forbid when they find out you can.
Right. So then, I
up.
usually try to talk them into crossing, and I've had several. And somewhere I have it written down. I journaled it because my husband used to tell me, why don't you start writing stuff down and saving it? And I did. And somewhere I have a spiral that has the stories of some of the people I've done crossings, because when I explain to them that my experience is not that there's punishment and what have you, you actually can help them, and you see the tunnel of light. You can pull it in. You can pull angels in to help them. It's actually quite a beautiful experience. But that's when you turn into spirit, is when you're cleared of the earthly baggage, and that's spirit. So spirit's loving, spirits. So if you have something bothering you, it doesn't mean it's a demon necessarily. But if it's somebody who hasn't crossed over, truth is, if they were an ungodly ass while they were here, they're still an ungodly ass now, because they
Yeah.
haven't cleared of that, perception of things. And when we cross over, and I know this for a fact, whether anybody wants to take it for a fact or not is their own ability to choose that. Once we cross over through the light, we do what's called a life review. And with spirit, we review our lives. And this is why I'm very careful of my karma, because I know this and it's embedded in me. Um, we review our lives. And the interesting thing is that we not only review our lives with spirit, but we review not only how we felt about what happened to us, but we review the way we made others feel. And I believe personally, just a personal opinion, that's it, that is where religion pulls in punishment and the belief in punishment. Because there are many people that if you had to review not only how you felt about life, but the way you made others feel, if that wasn't positive, that may feel like punishment, because you're going to actually experience how you made them feel. But in my view, that is a perspective of learning and growth, to understand as a spiritual, because we're spirits in a body, and we're going to be spirits in a body again. I'd love to do a show on past life. We're going to be spirits in a body again. But to me, that's the ability to learn and to understand that from not only your own perspective, but literally from another person's perspective. But it's meant for growth, not punishment. It's meant for understanding, not punishment. Because, and face it, if we as humans, when we inflicted something onto another human, whether it's good or bad or mean or happy or whatever it is, if we in that moment got instant recourse to feel what we're causing with our words or our actions, we'd probably behave a little bit differently.
Probably.
Right. So as spirits, we get to have that experience, but it's for that growth, so that we have understanding and we can behave differently. And there are people who are afraid of that outcome, so they choose not to go over to the light. I did have an older man once, and I said, "Are you afraid to go to the light?" And he said, "No." And I said, Why are you hanging out?" And his wife had not passed yet, and he was afraid that if he crossed over, he couldn't be with her. Like, he didn't know that, if he wasn't sure that if in spirit he could still be with her, and he wasn't ready to leave his wife. So he was hanging out, waiting for her turn to come over, and he wanted to cross over with her. So they're not all tragic things. But
No.
some of them are afraid because of what they've learned through punishment and what have you, that they're afraid of what's going to happen to them. And I struggle with that because, again, I'm not going to tell anybody what they believe is wrong ever. I'm only going to talk from what I believe in. But I struggle with the fear of crossing over to spirit, if you choose to believe in those faiths, and believing that I'm going to be burned and punished to hellfire and damnation, to the same thing that people refer to as all loving. And in that, this is another question. These are conversations I've had over the years, and that's why I'm going to do this over the month. People have said, well, with your belief system, that means that God or Buddha, whoever you believe in, spirit, I just say spirit most of the time, forgives all. And I actually do believe that. So then it gets thrown at me, what about pedophiles? What about serial killers? What about whatever? How spirit chooses to teach someone is up to spirit. I'm not smart as spirit. I won't pretend to be. When you can see the whole picture of the world and the whole plan, that's a different level.
Yeah.
That's a level up. Maybe there's a way that they're taught and learned and healed, or whatever it is needs to be. Maybe they're part of the plan. I don't know. But in that, when I made the decision to follow my faith the way that I do, I contemplated those questions in myself. And I do believe that they're forgiven, but that they do get taught the consequence and the feelings and what have you that happens along with that. So That's just the truth. And some people have a problem with that. And that's okay. You can have a problem with that. Because the bottom line is it's something everybody should hear because it's not just me. Um, no matter what you do in life, and no matter how hard you work or how much you care, or how much you know to be fact from your own life filter and your own life experience, there are going to be people who don't agree with you. There are going to be people who don't like you. Period. Um, if you allow that fear and those people to control your life, that's free will choice. But I gave up when my husband died. My whole world changed. I just had this conversation with somebody recently too. So maybe we were supposed to talk about this topic. When my husband died, my whole world changed, and I went, life's too short to be pissed off.
Yeah.
Life's too short to, not that I don't get mad, but to live in that. Life's too short not to be vulnerable. Life's too short not to express true, genuine love. Life's too short to worry about what everybody else thinks about what you drive and what you wear and all those things. Life's too short for that. And part of the reality is that the people who are judging you from that aspect and that strongly, why are you caring what they think? So the only person who's going to meet with spirit, if you choose to believe in the life review like I do, the only person who's going to be sitting next to spirit taking accountability for you is you.
Mhm.
Did you follow with passion? Did you do the best you could with what you had? When you didn't, okay, what can we learn from that to where it's different? And I happen to have that conversation with myself every night. And I've talked about that on the air before too.
Mhm.
Did I do the best I could today with what I had? If the answer is yes, it's a good day. Was I a person I'd be proud of? If I die in my sleep tonight and I sit next to spirit, was I a person I'd be proud of today? And if my answer is yes, it's a good day. And if my answer is no, I say, okay, I see where I could see where I kind of could do that differently. I see where I can learn something from that. If I have another opportunity tomorrow, I'll do better. And that's just something I do every night before I go to sleep. The woo is, and this is part of the reason I decided to do the woo show too, is I get on here and I talk about my practice and mental emotional healing and what have you. And I guess part of me has allowed the professional realm of therapy, so to speak, to have me kind of steer away from that part of me a little bit because I didn't want to be considered non professional or, oh, she's crazy. She can't help you. And what I realized in some conversations I've had recently is that this connection and these faiths and these beliefs that I literally follow every day of my life are what make me really good at what I do. And it's also what makes some of the professionals send people to me because there's a heart connection there that's a little bit different. There's an empathy and an understanding there that's a little bit different. And I do have professionals, so to speak, people with psychology degrees who make a lot of money doing what they do, and I don't. Sending clients to me saying, "Can you help them?" I don't, or getting phone calls from some of them I've become friends with over the years saying, "I have this case. What would you do in this case?" And I realized that it's this spiritual connection and this heart connection and this connection to the other realm that makes my empathy and ability and understanding of that so much greater. So I kind of went, you know what? I'm going to practice what I preach. This is a part of my daily life. It's a passion within me, and I am open minded. Do I believe absolutely everything everybody says that they can or do? No. And I've always referred myself as an open minded skeptic. Um, I'll be open to it, but you do have to convince me a bit before I go all in. Um, it's just there's people out there in the world that are full of shit.
Well, yeah.
um,
I mean, yeah.
and there's
So
people out there that are
okay.
full of shit, and you're paying them to hear stuff that's bullshit. And that's fine. But I thought I'm not going to hide it. So we're going to do, like I said, a really fun month and talk about some different things.
Well, talking about fun and not talking about not hiding anything. Um, I have ever since we sat down and ever since you mentioned it earlier before the show, I can feel somebody right here. I can't see them. Usually, I can see stuff like if they show up. Is the little person still
Uh
there?
huh.
What's up with the? Because
I
I've
don't know.
never known. I have never
No.
known personally a little person. I enjoy them immensely. I do. They make me
Well,
happy.
and for those of you who
But
are wondering what the hell is Pete talking
yeah.
about, before the show, Pete and I come in early. the person in my life said, "What's your show about today?" And I said, "I don't know. I haven't gone to talk to Pete yet because I just hadn't." Like, I don't know. Pete and I usually have a conversation before the show, and then I go, "Oh, you know what? We'll talk about that." Well, Pete and I ended up kind of BSing about life, and I went,
Yeah.
"You know what? That's what the show is today. That's what we're talking about."
Yeah.
But he was talking about a life decision he's contemplating, and as soon as he started to say, "I'm going to ask you something," two spirits popped up behind him and a little person. I guess that's the word now, because if you use the wrong currently
Yeah,
word,
I'm gonna go with that because I
all
don't
right.
know
Yeah,
what's
my intent,
PC
for the record,
anymore.
if I ever use a term that's outdated because, they change them every 30 seconds as to what's appropriate, my intentions are always good. So
Yeah.
if you're offended, get over it or click off or do whatever you got to do, because I don't do that. But anyway, two spirits popped up behind me and a little person popped up next to him. And I told him, he's like, "I don't know it." I'm like, "Well, one knows you." And it's funny because now he's feeling them there. And yeah, they're
Yeah.
still there.
And the other two are
No,
no,
not
they're
really.
gone.
Just,
No,
yeah.
yeah.
I can tell you that
Uh,
they're male, and I can tell you that they have an incredibly good sense of humor.
all of them.
The
They're,
the little
oh,
person
the
is
little
still
person.
here.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, that's awesome. It's
Yeah, because,
because
well, I'll tell you the truth what they did, and I didn't say it because we ran out of time and you had to get the show ready because we're completely professional and have a
yeah,
show on
yeah.
the ball. As soon as I said they're really funny, they put on the Lucky Charms costume and said, "But not like this," and started laughing. Like,
Okay.
because I was concerned, can I call you little person? Because
Okay.
I don't know what these terms are.
Yeah.
And they did that to break the ice and
Yeah.
make it calm.
Okay.
So
All right.
yeah, they
Okay.
have a sense of humor.
Cool.
Because I don't mean to be offensive, but for the record, I don't go on Facebook and YouTube and what have you to find the term of the day. My intentions when I speak to people are to be respectful.
Yeah.
And my heart has true intentions to be respectful. And just because the government or society or some one person who made a stance or whatever changed the entire way we're supposed to speak, my give a shit about that's pretty broken because my intentions are pure. So if I ever offend somebody by using a term that you feel is offensive, then I apologize for you feeling that that's offensive. But I don't apologize for what I said because it's a pure intention.
Yeah. Which is absolutely fair, I think.
Yeah.
So
So just
I
kind
was
of
just
doing that.
curious because I can tell.
Yeah.
But usually when things are
It's so
around, if
funny
they
because your
want,
hand is literally about the right.
like, right,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, because I can actually. There's,
Yeah.
it's weird, but usually I get to see and hear. It's rare that I'll just feel a presence,
They don't like
uh,
the puppy.
and
They said the puppy.
nobody does.
Oh, well,
So I mean,
here's the
I
deal.
don't, but
Mary Catherine, I love you.
no.
He says the puppy's annoying and stupid and it's spoiled and it doesn't do anything that's purposeful.
Well, yeah, it's a puppy. That's what puppies do. They
Yeah,
don't
but I
know.
mean, is it really obnoxiously spoiled? And
Well, I mean, all her animals are, but yes,
okay.
it needs much more discipline,
Yeah, because
and yeah, but I'm not there, and it's not my dog. None of the animals are mine.
no, I know. I'm
So
just saying that the person who's next to you,
yeah,
who for whatever reason now I'm going to refer to as Mike because that just popped into my head.
Mike. Okay, Mike. Short Mike.
Is referring to the puppy. But these are the things, and
Yeah.
again, it's kind of a practice what I preach month because people who hear me talk about the intents of the unconscious mind and all those things are genuine and true. And my heart is in that too. I really believe that as long as we're breathing, there is hope to heal and to be happy and to find peace with things. But this metaphysical thing is truly a part of my daily life. I get visions of things. I get feelings and gut instincts of things. Sometimes they're of the future. Sometimes they're of the current. Sometimes they're showing me an understanding of another human being because of what's happening. An example is I have a person who's been in and out of my life for years, who carries a lot of baggage from their past, but they're a good person. They struggle with all the baggage that they carry. And just 2 weeks ago, and people in McHenry will probably know this if they were there, but it was a Wednesday night, and my roommate looked at me and said, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I don't freaking know, but something has happened or is about to happen."
Hmm.
And I was very calm, but my insides were with anxiety. Well, this person who's been in my life for years now, we have a different type of connection where there's no. There was even a time we hadn't spoken for 5 months, and I got a vision that they had been misdiagnosed by a doctor, and I got a hold of them, and they had in fact been misdiagnosed. As a matter of fact, had I not drugged them to my doctor, they would have died.
Hmm.
And those kinds of things are really in my daily life. But this was 2 weeks ago, and I don't know. And I messaged them because we had had a bit of a falling out. And I had messaged them and said, I don't care how mad you are at me. You know what happens to me is real. What the hell is going on? And they did respond, which sometimes they don't, but they did respond and said, I'm fine. Okay, but I can't identify what's happening. Either something has happened and you're lying, or something is about to happen. And the next morning, I ended up falling asleep. And the next morning, I woke up and I was up for maybe 20 minutes. And I was on the phone with my mom having coffee. And my stomach took a big twist and I heard a siren.
Hmm.
And I sent a text that said, did you make it home this morning? They work third shift. Did you make it home this morning? 5 minutes later, I get a text that said, was just rear-ended, car totaled. I'm at an MC in the emergency room.
Wow.
On my way. That is a normal thing in my life and in my world now, where not just with them, although I will say with them, it's the strongest. But those are real metaphysical things. And I kind of went, you know what? Why do I not talk about this kind of stuff on the air? I'm not ashamed of it. I talk about it freely. But the other thing is that I do believe that a lot of people probably do experience some of these things and don't realize that that's what's happening. And how does that not help maybe mix with mental, emotional wellness? There's times in truth where I've even said I think I'm insane. I have a few very close friends that when something incredible happens, that I'm even like, oh, okay, this is weird. I'll tell it to, so that if something occurs later that validates that, um, I can call them and go, did I say? Did you? And then they can go, yeah, you called and you said. Just because it validates me that that really happened. I don't tend to write a lot of things down. Um, so I'm not going to hide it anymore, and we're going to kind of do that on the air.
Cool.
So I'm going to say one thing that's going to, because we're running out of time. I'm going to say one thing that's going to sound rude, and I'm going to remind you that my intentions are always pure. When I'm talking the woo woo, if you have a question or if you'd like to call in, if I have a person of that nature on, you're welcome to, and I'll be happy to do my best. You got to remember it's on the air, off the cuff, and I'm talking to somebody and honoring them with respect. I don't give a shit what color clothes you wear to a job interview. I don't give a shit when you're going to find your perfect man. I hope somebody who focuses on those things is there for you. I give a shit about whether you can find peace in grief. I give a shit whether you can get validated for the decision you're trying to make and you're moving forward on your path. I do life path things. I do life healing things. So the reason I say that, and I don't mean disrespect to any type of readers that do different readings than I do. I'm grateful for you because people need that. I'm just kind of putting the truth out there. I'm not going to, even though I'm going to go into the woo woo, I will not turn this show into whammy bullshit.
Yeah.
So if you have a question or a concern, and if I can pick something up for you while I'm on the show, I will be happy to.
Yeah.
So if you would like to pop up a question or click a link, if the show, I'll announce at the beginning of the show if this is a show that you can do that with or not. Because there's some people I'm not going to disrespect. What they're doing isn't that. So we're not going to take off their spotlight towards something else.
Right.
So I'll announce at the beginning of the shows if it's a show that if you choose, you can call in or you can type a question or what have you. Am I going to promise you that I'm going to do my best read for you on the air? No. Because I'm going to be focused on my guest or on Pete and what he's doing in our communications, but I will offer
Or
those
Mike
kinds
the
of
Midget.
things. Yeah, maybe he'll come.
I don't.
You know, so we're going to kind of do that. Were we running out?
No, we got like about 5 minutes.
So that's what we're going to do in October. For those of you who are disappointed, I'm sorry. Come back in November. Truthfully, I need the lightheartedness of it. And not that it's not healing and helpful and believing. It's not what I mean by lighthearted. I need a break from fixing people right now.
Well, that can be extremely draining.
Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing my clients and I'm
Yeah.
happy to do it in my office, but I've kind of gotten to the point where I love doing the show and I love talking about things on the air. Um, and I'm a little bit of burnout. And so I
It's
thought, you
hard
know
to
what, I'm going to go to
be
the other side of me right
it's hard to
now.
be serious all the time.
Yeah.
It really is. And the other side for you, this is the, as you call it, the woo woo is more fun. It's a little bit lighter. It seems like where you find a little bit of joy, because you always
Yeah.
lighten up when you talk about it a bit.
I
So
love the woo woo. And
yeah.
this is kind of literally a practice what I preach moment, because I realized how much of the woo woo is really me. And it is what makes me good at what I do in my office.
Mm-hmm.
And in truth, it has gotten me through so many things in life. And I've seen true miracles. And maybe at some point we'll even talk about that. But I've seen true miracles and I've seen people blossom. And I have discovered that sometimes a reading is as healing as a session, when it comes especially to grief and
Mm-hmm.
regret, to get that peace and that validation that it's all okay. You know, you don't need to carry that baggage or that burden anymore. And so the woo is as much of my practice and what I do, and readings are as much of my practice and what I do, um, as hypnotherapy and NLP and everything else, because it's a part of me. And I realized how much of that I was setting aside because I didn't want to be judged as unprofessional or uneducated because I did the woo. And then I realized how much of a hypocrite I was being by telling people to be genuine to who they are, why I'm hiding because of the judgment of society about the woo.
Yeah.
So we're just going to mix it up from now on. I
That's
caught
cool.
myself in the cesspool and I'm going to climb out, and we're just going to kind of go
Well,
with it.
that's good to hear. A cesspool is really not a fun place to
Yeah.
be. I
Yeah.
mean,
And I found it to be very
it's
depressing and
necessary. A cesspool is necessary because
right.
that's where you got to dump your refuse, but you don't want to swim in it.
Yeah. And that's what it felt like. Like I was just being smothered by smog, because this is not that readings aren't beneficial. Like I said, I take them very seriously. I don't do a lot of the gimmicky kind of readings. Um, Always since I've
When
done
will I
readings.
find a job? Well, when you go look for one. How about
Right.
that?
Right.
Yeah.
Or, if somebody says, hey, I've been looking, and how long, if I get I'm seeing fall trees. So I'm going to guess the fall, if I get something, I'll give it. But what I don't want to do is turn this into the circus
Yeah.
type thing. Because even when I was doing readings full time, I tended to draw people who needed real life path guidance,
Yeah.
real healing. And that is just kind of what I do. So don't be afraid to ask a question, but I'm just letting people know I'm not going to turn it into a circus show. Um, it's going to be the real deal about life healing still. I'm just going to start mixing the metaphysical in with it because it truly is a part of my daily life. As a matter of fact, I was asked the other day why something didn't fear me, that I didn't fear something that maybe some people would have feared. And my reason was I kind of realized that maybe I should be nervous, but they haven't shown me anything that says that I should be nervous yet. So I'm going to not be. And my view of that is if they'll show me when people are going to be in accidents, and they'll show me, because for the record, the totaling of the car, I had sent a message, your car is going to get totaled, but I actually thought somebody else did it because of how
Wow.
I saw it. Um, it's a part of it all. So, Pete's giving me the finger, which
Yeah.
means it's 1 minute.
Yeah. Not the finger, a finger.
So anyway, thanks for joining us. Sorry, I know it was just yip yap. I'm burned out, guys. So we're gonna take a few weeks of fun.
This was still a fun show. I enjoyed it. Met Mike.
Let's look forward to the guests that we'll have. And I'll announce at the beginning of the shows whether it's a show that you can call in to ask a question or not. And it'll be based on the respect of whatever guest I'm spotlighting that week. Or maybe it'll be just a show with me, and we'll just do that. So we'll see how it goes. We're going to play it by ear. But October is going to be an interesting month. It's going to be completely different from what we normally do. So have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy.